Let's start with Geeta Dhyana. Om. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers, and the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. So we pick right up at 23, which is this is where we ended yesterday. It's a beautiful discussion. There are a couple of commentaries related that can be helpful. But we'll read these two, 21 and 22. Devotees may select any name or form as the object of their worship, but if they have sincere belief, I make their faith strong and steady. Then they worship with steady faith the form they have chosen. They worship with steady faith the form they have chosen, they get what they want, but actually I am the one fulfilling their desires. So does that bring us back to the conversation we were having yesterday morning? Who is it that we're worshiping when we're worshiping whatever we're worshiping? Yeah, so that's what's being shared. That's what's being shared. And he says they get what they want. They get what they want if they worship with steady faith, whatever form they've chosen. So what's being shared here is whatever it is that we desire, the key is to worship the form, the appropriate form, with steady faith, and you'll get it. And we had discussed yesterday whether it's a lower object of worship or whether it's the highest. So there's a story here that Swamiji shares, which is a lovely story. It's an Indian story, and to help touch this in a fun way, beautiful way. He says, in India and neighboring countries, when you go into the countryside in the early morning, you may be surprised to see the lady of the house coming out and waving a camphor light and prostrating herself before a round ball. Look closely, you'll see it's nothing but a ball of cow dung, which she herself collected in the backyard. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? You can. Yeah, you get it.
No, I didn't do it. But
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Every morning she goes into the yard. Almost every family owns 1 or 2 cows, and of course there's cow dung produced overnight. She just selects a small piece and rolls it into a ball. The rest will go into a pit, but she brings that one ball to the front of the house. She puts a geometrical design around it, plucks a flower, and sticks it right in the middle of the cow dung. For her, the dung becomes Lord Ganesh, God the protector. After that's done, she immediately offers more flowers and then prostrates before him, offering the camphor light, and says, Lord Ganesh, please protect my house the whole day. That ball will be there throughout the day and night. The next morning, it's put aside because it was worshipped as God. It won't go into the pit. It's separated. Every day for months, they collect the balls. Then one day, all of them are burned to ash. And it is the ash, which is called vibhuti, the holy ash, which is applied across the forehead and some pujas. So this is the Shiva ash, the vibhuti powder. Can we relate to that?
Oh, yeah.
How do we relate to it? What lesson do you get from the story?
Oh, wow.
What does it help to bring forward?
It's the worship, relating the highest to all objects.
Yeah, it's how you relate to the object. In one way of saying, we could say that all of the objects here are actually neutral. We could say that, right? That the object doesn't, in one way of saying, we could say it doesn't contain anything. Now, there are contents, but the contents can't be seen or smelled or touched or tasted or heard. But we can say it's neutral. So in our own inner world, we imbue it with something. Right? Is it so? Yeah. So, and then according to how we imbue it, what we imbue it with, we relate to it. And so we make it that. Does that make sense? We make it that. In our inner world, that is what it is. And if we get into a discussion with someone else, then we'll hold the view that it's that. Right?
That's kind of like dullness.
Well, in a way, it's faith. Now, when we hold on to limited views, it turns out they don't serve us. But in the same, right, they won't give us what we want. So in that way, it doesn't serve us. It doesn't lead to holding on to the limited views related to the objects. Doesn't give us peace, right? And it doesn't give us the happiness that we seek. And so, But here, there's clearly an unlimited view or a much higher view that's being shared, right? But in the same way, and she has faith in this. So to her, if someone says that's cow dung, she will say, oh no, my dear, it's not cow dung. It's Ganesha. And why not? Why not? If you really reflect on what it's actually made of, then you can see, of course, Ganesha can be there. Right? If you get to the physics of it, you say, of course. And, and then we listen to what Lord Krishna is sharing. We say, yeah, it is the absolute underlying everything here. And everything's actually made of the absolute, of the lower nature of the absolute. Everything's made of that, the three gunas. Where did they come from? So, right? So, why not? And it's maybe a way of relating to where he's saying any form, it's okay, any form, because I'm there. And then however you relate, and what your interest is, will determine so much as well, right? Because if we're in the place where we say money or power or fame or fortune or getting away from everything or controlling everyone else, teaching everyone else what not to do, whatever it is that's important to us. You described a transition that you've been going through, Yashoda, and whatever it is, then that's what's most important to us, right? And based upon what's most important to us, then we'll see the objects of the world as either something leading to that or something leading away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll worship the objects which you see as most important in leading towards it. Yeah.
Yes.
So Lord Krishna says, actually, that's a form of me. You're worshiping me, but you're worshiping my lower nature. Yes? So there's another commentary here from Swami Venkatesananda that we'd like to share as well, related to the same. And Swamiji goes on in here and he goes on 6 pages of stories and discussions about exactly this point. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal because we keep getting stuck in limited notions when the unlimited is here. And so this is the reason why the Lord has described himself and begun the process of saying who I am, who the Lord is, in this 7th chapter, and will continue. This is why. It's not for gratification. Not to say, look how great I am. It's to help us out of our misery. Right? It comes from the heart of compassion. To help us out of where we've gotten stuck. And so he says it, and then having said it, now he says what to do with this knowledge that I've shared with you. I've told you about this world and me. I've said it's all me, right? It's all me. I am the underlier of all of this. This is my higher nature. And all of this is made of my lower nature, which is the gunas. So he says, wherever you look, if you look deeply, you'll find me there. And now he's talking about and what to do. How is that helpful information for us and what to do about it? And this is what leads us to this discussion about worship me. See me, worship me, relate to me, identify with me, right? Don't identify with this limited nature and these limited ideas. Identify with me, and you can find me in any form and worship me there. And of course it means Jesus or Muhammad, but also it means cow dung.
Swamiji.
Oh.
I remember when I was first coming to ashram, I wanted to stay here forever. And I never wanted to leave. And I always had to leave. That was my path.
Yeah.
And it came to be that what I felt here as sacred was everywhere I went. And it was important for me to remember that and be that everywhere I am. So there isn't in here which is, sacred and out there is other.
That's it. That's it. Jai Ma, thank you.
Brings a huge relief.
It came to me this realization after we moved from the previous place.
Yes.
Then I looked around and it was like everything empty, like all the rooms empty, and I was like, this magic, this sacredness was not in the house itself. It was, we created the ashram in our minds basically because everyone thought as a holy place. And then we covered it with this holiness. But it was not in the location itself.
And
the same as
and on the other hand, it is in the location itself and in every location.
Right.
In the other way of seeing exactly the same, right? Or just another way of saying it.
Yeah.
Because clearly it's already imbued with it for us to find it there.
Yes.
Right.
It's like a hide and seek.
Yeah, but it was hidden.
Go play this game.
Oh.
Play the Lila. Go find Krishna.
But somehow, because we developed a way to relate to the highest where we were, then there was a shift in the energy of the space.
Right.
Yeah. But it was already there.
Oh.
Oh. So, indeed. Okay, we introduced Shloka 23 here as well, which is clearly related. So 22, endowed with that faith, he engages in the worship of that form, and from it he obtains his desires, these being verily ordained by me alone. So, same. And then 23, verily the reward that accrues to those men of small intelligence is finite. The worshippers of the gods go to them, but my devotees come to me. And this can be very easily misconstrued, of course, but the worshippers of gods. So just briefly, and we had a few days where we were having a lot of fun with this, but there's the concept of the supreme and then the concept of the gods, and it's like this: if you look in the world, in the worldly way, and you see a big business, a factory, for example, that manufactures cars, right?
Yeah,
this is a good one. So we think for this. So in a car manufacturing plant that's turning out lots and lots of cars, there is a god, that is, there's a president, a CEO, a head of the factory. But then there also have to be supervisors in order for it to get done, because that one, in and of himself or herself, won't be able to supervise every single individual. But that one will do it through levels of supervisors.
Becomes many.
Yeah. So the one becomes many. And of course, that one will fire the supervisors that aren't doing what the one wants them to do. And so in the same way, we can relate to the concept that's being shared here of Krishna saying me, and he's speaking of the highest here, and then the gods, which are the ones who work for me. And so the ones who work for me, they have responsibilities such as knowledge, the attainment of knowledge, the storehouse of knowledge, or the vital airs, or the function of the body, or the function of mind, or all of these, right? And so there will be quote unquote gods responsible for each. But a Western way of relating is those are the supervisors. And so the U.S. Mint is one of the supervisors also. In the same way. So we have the ability to worship either the highest, and that's going to come through discernment. So what's being called intelligence. Viveka, intelligence, which is the process of asking the question of what's really here, right? And as you discover more and more what's really here, then does your point of worship change? Does it? Yeah, right. Instead of the next guy that comes along, it's something different, right? Yeah.
Detach,
Okay.
unattach.
And it will naturally happen with knowledge.
Naturally, yeah.
It'll naturally happen with knowledge. When you get it and say, aha, right, then naturally it'll move up.
So we don't want to worship the supervisor, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because he'll be fired soon enough. And then where are you?
So even Krishna as a being is also a supervisor. So there's
As a being, yeah. But Krishna is not speaking as a being.
I
Never in the Gita is he. That's the thing. That's something about the Gita is he never speaks in a limited way. He only ever speaks as the authority all through the Gita, the entire Gita. So it gets confusing in the Bible, for example, where we try to say who is Jesus being now.
Yeah.
But here he never speaks as a limited. So he never speaks as a being.
Okay.
He speaks only as the absolute.
Okay.
So you can check in on that.
Yeah,
You can pick up any verse.
I will. I'm curious now.
So, and he speaks sometimes as friend, like our best friend,
Right.
and like that.
Right.
Yeah, but isn't the absolute our best friend?
Yes. Oh, okay.
So he doesn't actually change roles. It could seem that way, but if you look to see it, you'll catch it. So verily the reward that accrues to the men of small intelligence is finite. The worshippers of the gods go to them, but my devotees come to me. So if that's helpful. Here's the commentary that Swamiji adds. He says, the superficial meaning is clear as daylight. No one is compelled to accept or reject any particular method of worship of any form of the Supreme Being, as long as that worship is with the faith that I am worshiping God. And he's got capital G. So the Supreme. He says the Hindu is not an idol worshiper. He worships God. So it's not a worship of the form, actually. Now, it's true that many might relate to it as if they're worshiping the form, but that would be because the understanding isn't there. Yeah. Right? Or the devotion is not there. Devotion will lead to understanding. Understanding will lead to devotion. In other words, if I'm so devoted and I only ever think of God, then understanding will come. Or if I really study and I learn what's really here, then devotion will come. Because I was always devoted to something, but I would have been devoted to something limited, yeah. So he says he worships God, the divine presence in the idol, which is the medium through which he can contact God. He worships God in and through his guru and the saints, in and through God's manifestations in the mineral, plant, animal, human, and celestial kingdoms. But there is the ever-present faith that he is worshiping not the form, but the spirit in all these. This faith is initially based on intellectual or metaphysical grounds and the testimony of the sages and the saints. Right? When we hear there's something more, we're always looking for something more. And so somehow, in due course, it becomes a conviction born of direct realization. Right? No. Without asking.
Right. It's not something you can do.
Not something you can do. You discover the miracle of life. And you discover the root of the singularity. The root of the singularity, that from which the singularity arises, that which is the singularity itself. So direct realization, so unshakable. Peace Pilgram would talk about faith, and she would say, faith is a knowing. What we call faith around here is not really faith. In a way, yeah, I mean, it's a strong belief, strongly held belief that we'll test. And it can lead to real faith if it's directed in this way. Because then the confirmations will come. So Peace would say it's a knowing in that which cannot be experienced through the senses. Yeah. But that which is found to be real. So, in this way. So direct realization. And then it becomes firm. And then I asked the question, why did it take thousands of water bottles, right? I mean, it takes time for it to become firm.
Why? Because
This mind is quite mysterious. And the force that we're dealing with, this Maya, is also so mysterious. Why is it so pervasive? Well, it's the question. It's just a question. I mean, and it gets answered as we work with it and go through it.
Its nature is to cover.
And the next shloka we introduce Maya, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow morning.
I think it was a couple slokas before when I was saying, if you have belief, or if you have belief, I will make your faith strong.
Yes.
So
That's it.
I'm wondering, thinking, what's the relationship between belief and faith? And
Well,
what's
that's the.
difference between them?
It's a process, and that's exactly what we're just talking about. If you have a belief and live according to the belief, then the Lord will provide to you the proof in that belief.
That evolves into faith.
It evolves in faith.
And evolves into faith. Belief and faith are not actually the same. Faith is a knowing with proof. But it starts with a belief. So you come to the point, and he's speaking of these higher beliefs, right? So if you believe that you're going to find happiness in another person, you'll certainly be given the opportunity to find out whether it's true or not. Yeah. And it's also the Lord doing that, giving you that opportunity.
So gracious.
Yes.
He gives you a
Gracious.
So whatever your belief is, the Lord will give it to you,
Beautiful.
will allow you to see the fruit of it, right? And so that will lead you upwards in that way. And then finally, when the belief dawns in something higher, pervasive, underlying, divine, and you live according to that belief, then the Lord will give you confirmations, right, that will help to steel that, to make it firm into highest faith. But all the way along, the Lord is saying, I'm doing this. I'm doing it because why? Because I love you. And I'm not apart from you. So the great declaration of the Veda, the reality is one, sages designate it variously, indicates that whatever religion people profess, they're worshiping the Supreme Being in their own way with faith. God, being omnipresent, responds to the devotee's prayers, meditation, or worship in his own way. Having this attitude, the devotee regards whatever he receives in this life as the gift of God, and he is forever happy and unperturbed. And this is why, with a taste of this, these arguments will come. One will say it's Jesus, another will say it's Muhammad, etc., because they have that conviction now. So best not to argue. Best not to try to take it away from them.
Yeah, because they mistake the belief and the confirmation that they get from individual beings as being the highest.
Yeah, but still now they're very much on the path and they'll be led upward.
Absolutely.
So,
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. It is beautiful. It's so interesting because as you're talking, all the controversy and conflict from all the different people as they evolve in their faith is really strong, because the confirmation that begins to come is strong, is pervading, all pervading.
Yeah.
And then to be able to accept all that and really recognize that it is on the path.
Yeah, and it's so practical, isn't it?
Yes.
You dealt with something with your sister. Would you mind sharing? If you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind.
It would be
I don't mind at all.
I feel it would be very helpful.
I don't mind at all. My sister delved deeply into Christ, and it was always difficult for me to hear anything about Christ and God, and I had a lot of boundaries with that, a lot of conflict, inner conflict about that, around that. And I really felt that she could not accept me. And that was upsetting for me. And so I prayed for the ability to really see where she's at, because I knew in my heart that she did love me. She's my sister. She does love me regardless of the outer form. So this is the way that she is able to engage. So I knew that intellectually, but I did not know that. So I knew that as belief, but I did not know that as faith. And so I really strongly came back again and again to the belief, practicing the belief. Yes, she does love me. Yes, she is. And I went to visit her, and when I visited her, the faith of knowing that she does love, and this is the way that she's able to connect, really became real. And so it was such a beautiful.
Thank you.
I had the same thing with my mother because she's a little bit perturbed by the big blue Buddhas and all that. But I definitely felt that there's a questioning, but not a judgment anymore from her, and also from me, it changed. So I think both sides we came to.
There's not two sides. When it changes in you, it changes in her.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
doesn't
deal.
matter.
So you just have to focus on your own. You don't have to focus on what somebody else is doing. Oh, that's it. That's it. And that's what Ashira is describing as well. It was her way of seeing that changed her sister.
She's exactly the same. Oh, and by the way, so am I.
And thus goes the Mad Fools Club. Okay, thank you for all the examples. So the last little bit of this beautiful commentary says, he who recognizes the all-pervasiveness of God and still worships the Supreme Being alone through his different aspects will go to the Supreme, but he who, unable to comprehend this truth, worships the forms themselves as God, even he is not lost. He will become one with that aspect of God and in course of time realize God's infinity. What a heartwarming doctrine.
Yeah.
No one is condemned forever. Whatever be one's concept of God, faith redeems him. For while the form remains as such, God is made manifest in the heart. That's where God arises within us.
So it may take a lot more water bottles.
Yeah. We actually don't know how many. So I'll just read this and then we'll close. This is 24:25. The unintelligent think of me, the unmanifest, as having manifestation, knowing not my higher, immutable, and most excellent nature. Did we hear that?
Could you read that again?
The unintelligent, the ones without discernment. Think of me, the unmanifest. So again, here we go. Who's speaking here? The unmanifest is speaking through the manifestation. So he doesn't shift roles. The unintelligent think of me, the unmanifest, as having manifestation, knowing not my higher, immutable, and most excellent nature. And he continues, I am not manifest to all as I am, veiled by the yoga maya. This deluded world does not know me, the unborn and imperishable. So we'll come back to that one tomorrow.
Awesome.
So make sure to show up. Okay, let's close. Anything else that anyone would like to share? Okay.
Maybe just one thought.
Oh.
The better it gets, the better it gets.
Oh. Oh.
It comes clear, fuzzy, or fuzzy, and then just a little clearer and a little clearer and a little clearer.
Yeah.
Back to fuzzy, fuzzy.
You know, this is really something, being able to take Bhagavad Gita and explore it in this way together. It's really magic. It's really something. It's quite profound. Yeah. We're really given a gift in being able to do this together. So, because it does, in exploring it together, it does, doesn't it? It does open. Yeah.
With extraordinary focus and commitment
Required.
required. Absolutely.
But also it helps to engender it. Yeah. And it's quite a gift that we're given here.
This talk made me think of Swami Shivananda's last words: detach, or was it the opposite?
No, that was it. Detach,
Because
attach.
when I
But it could be opposite.
yeah
Except then it might get misunderstood more easily.
yeah because it helped me to start with just the deities and not really have a relationship to the highest, but it got me in the door. And
Yes.
then, because the mind is all over the place, so get it on more uplifting things all over the place.
Yes.
And then slowly starting to really have the bhava and relate the, different forms and pictures and all of the mantras and all of the things that the mind likes to do, but lead it as an offering towards not selfishly anymore. It's a big shift.
Yeah. Indeed. It is.
So, Swamiji, I invite you, Ma invites you to take that experience of looking at form and taking it in as bhavana and look at everything and taking it in as bhavana, not just a picture of a deity or a thought of a deity.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Understand, we're being led a particular way, and we will find it easier to relate to high energy vibrations as manifestations of that absolute. But we just had the example today of the cow dung. So that's it.
Right. I'm just saying there's more. there's always.
Well, it's in every form. Yeah.
Yes.
We have to.
If you keep hanging out with the supervisor, he would introduce you to the CEO. That's
Very good, Hari.
Right on.
Audio outside.
And then, what will your relationship with the supervisor will be? What will that relationship be? I don't need you anymore. I love you, but now that you've introduced me to the boss, I'm much happier now.
Well, and also.
So,
I'm sorry.
no, please, I want to share this though. Just, so this is Saint Therese de Lisieux, Saint Therese, little flower of Jesus. How many have heard of Saint Therese? Oh, okay. So her story is magnificent. It's a very simple story. But she tells exactly this. She, at the age of 13, she wanted to be a Carmelite nun. And that's all she wanted. I mean, that is all she wanted. This is what we talk about. Single-minded, single-pointed. That's it. That's what she lived to do. There was nothing else for her. but she was not seen as being old enough to do it. So, and this is exactly what she describes, is she kept meeting with people. She met with the vicar, and she finally got her father on her side, and she met with the vicar, and then she met with the vicar's boss, and then she finally met with the Pope, and all of them said no. And what she said was, I'm going straight to the boss. And so she said, Jesus, you have to take care of this. And so, of course, it happened. At 15, she became the youngest Carmelite nun ever.
Yeah.
So all the others helped her to meet the boss. And to have the conviction, I'm just going to the top. And she said it exactly that way. I had to go to the top. Oh. Yes, dude.
Oh, I just wanted to share that you were making the comment about the value of things and how they go both ways, and that I was realizing that I've gotten to where I am at this point in my life because of turds. And I've spent more money than than a lot of things in this lifetime on turds. I've bought a lot of them because they are what we need to cultivate.
Well, they, many ways to relate to it. We're in a grand science experiment, right? So, we would all share stories like that somewhere along the way. This birth, prior birth. But the good news is that having the experience and having learned what doesn't work, and this is Thomas Edison's story. He was asked one time, the inventor of the light bulb, he was asked, how many times did you fail? And he got it. He said, I never failed. He said, I just learned thousands of things that wouldn't work. And so, so like that. Okay, we should close. Short final prayer, page 174. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshayamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshayamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshayamamritat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, let us abide in thee forever and ever. On Bolo Sakar Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all the saints and sages of all the traditions. Stand for RT.